Okay, everybody, we are wrapping up our break right now. It's 2:20. Probably at that point where you're hitting a sugar low. Like this is normally when if we are in person, there'd be like huge cookies. The ones in August were like the size of my head, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm sure a lot of us brought those home to our family members who were then happy to see us after being gone, and we brought them loads of sugar. Um, we're gonna wrap up the day. I thought we might have time, but we probably won't. So maybe next time there's like some movement things with the Michigan Learning Channel that I think would be fun to share with you sometime. I'm going to tell you about them today, but we don't probably have time to actually do the movement. So maybe after this, though, you're going to want to get up and move around, and then you can take advantage of the impact for learning that we have available. So I wanted to make sure that we get a chance to just talk a little bit about the Michigan Learning Channel and what those updates are and how that's related to, excuse me, the essentials. For those of you who have known me for, you know, probably if you just meet me, you'd know how much I'm aligned to trying to connect things to the essential practices. And then I'm pretty passionate about it because I want everyone to have access to it. But when we started doing work with the Michigan Learning Channel, it was just so clear to me how this clearly it was all connected to the work we do with Literacy Essentials because Read, Write, Roar, the show that was produced in cooperation with Michigan Learning Channel, Detroit PBS, and MAISA was influenced by the K-3 Essentials and then the pre-K and now the 4-5. So we're going to just talk about a few things. I'm going to breeze through a few slides because Liberty kindly sent out an email the other day that included this S'more newsletter. So I've been trying to work on creating newsletters that give updates, and the Early Literacy Task Force gave me some wonderful feedback on that last time. So I will admit, I know they are full. It's been a little bit of a hectic start, but one of my intentions is that for each s'more, I would be able to like pull out something from the s'more and then like share that one piece out. So when we look at the s'more a little bit more, I'll talk to you about that. Today, we're going to be grounding of our conversation to connect with looking at the 4 or 5 essentials that we did with Melissa and Janice. So thank you, Melissa and Janice, for leading us through that and giving us that time to be able to reflect and make those connections. So we're going to do a little bit more of that because the brand new 4 or 5 show is now out. So I'm going to show you a few things with that. I would encourage you when you have a chance to just take a look at the resources that are in here. If you haven't had a chance, the YouTube playlist page is just like, I'm so excited about that. That's been a dream of mine that that would happen. So you could get easy access and I'm real quick and just show you what that looks like. So when you go to the Michigan Learning Channel, YouTube, there's this playlist button there. So I subscribe to the Michigan Learning Channel and it shows you all the different playlists that are available. The one I was going to talk to you about is this one, this Impact for Learning that's done with University of Michigan. And they're like 2.5 minute workouts and they're pretty cool and they're done in research. And the one thing I'll say out loud that we're all in this space together about is that rather than those being a brain break, they're actually like designed scientifically and with the PE instructors that they get you ready to learn rather than to give your brain a break. Like we used to think about, let's take a brain break. This is actually like, hey, we're going to do things really purposefully so that your brain's going to be ready to do some more learning. So anyhow, those are pretty cool. And I figured no one would like me anymore if I was like, let's do burpees right after, in the afternoon. But there's lots of different ones. And when you click on any playlist, it will show you, show you all the other ones that are in that playlist itself. And so then you can always just click at the top and then it'll take you right to that one page where all the different things are. So if you're working with a teacher and you need a quick break, I always think, oh my goodness, if I were still teaching first grade, I would be using this set of exercises a lot and probably even for myself as much as I would for the kids to just get myself up and moving, get myself ready to go. So this is how all of the playlists work is that once you click on one, then the whole group will show up. So I just wanted you to know that. So if I'm in my Michigan Learning Channel subscription and I go to playlist here, then I can pick any playlist. So let's say we're going to look at Brittany here with word builder segments. When I go over here, I can click on that and that's going to bring up, there's a, whoops, sorry, I really am not trying to keep playing. There's 105 word builder segments. So these currently are the K to 3 word builder segments. And you'll see they go from Brittany was a third grade teacher. So anyway, Brittany's third grade, but there's Tracy, who's second grade. And actually, we're going to see Brittany pop up again today because she was called back and was willing to do some episodes for us for 4 or 5. So these playlists were done through a lot of different work and a lot of different people. And I want to thank Erin Pell and our team who sat with me and worked so I could kind of talk her through what we do in each of these lesson types. And then she went and curated some lists and then gave them to Detroit PBS, Megan Elias, and Megan put them into these playlists for us. So they're really convenient now. I really love that they're easy to use, and that's something I want to point out to you. So those are highlighted in the s'more that I did this past month. So you have that link in the agenda. And what I was trying to do each s'more was kind of highlight each of the stations. So we're considered the 8th station as MAISA to let people know about the Michigan Learning Channel. But specifically, my role is to connect it with the Literacy Essentials. And this year in particular, they'd like us doing some family facing pieces that can support families at home. And certainly that's how the Michigan Learning Channel started, but we have a lot of new resources to support that way. Also, some of you are doing work in your area. So if you have an ISD highlight you want to send to me, I would love to highlight your ISD in one of the s'mores and show what you're doing and how you're using Read, Write, Roar. Had a great opportunity to talk to some colleagues last week from Ingham who are going to do some work. And then I think it's actually this week that I get to talk to some other colleagues at Kalamazoo. And so, please do reach out if you need support, and I will do my best to set up time to meet with you and think about what it is you're trying to do and support you to utilize the content. Then also there's general resources or any events coming up. Most recently, we had the opportunity for 5th through 12th grade educators to join the Iconic Michigan. But the newest thing I wanted to do was try and really highlight the lesson plan guides that are now out and ready for use, and think about how to show those to the connections specifically to the Literacy Essentials to do that flip around and use it in your room the next day. So what we're going to think about today is these lesson plan guides connections. I did an example in this more, and some of you may or may not have looked at it, but what I tried to do after I was looking at the coach kickoff, Nell was talking about writing in particular. She brought up the in the What Works Clearinghouse practice guide, it's COPS, and she refers to it as CAPS, like a strategy. Did you check for capitalization? Do you know, is your audience really clear? Is the purpose really clear? How's spelling? Things like that. And then also there was a part in the What Works Clearinghouse practice guide about peer feedback. So because I had taught on the show, I knew that when we were planning, Sharnita and I had episodes in first grade that did that. So I pulled out specific episodes that showed using Dr. Duke's checklist that we were allowed to use on the show and connecting it to the CAP strategy. And also an episode where I wrote something, sent it to Sharnita as my first grade teaching partner. She read it and gave me feedback connected to Dr. Duke's book, Inside Information. And so that's how I pulled that out. And so what I was thinking for us today, when we're thinking about the grade 4 or 5 content that we had, is the way 4 or 5 works is a little bit different. For K3, we had normally there were like 2 big sections. There was a foundational skills section, and then the other section was like going to be writing, or it was going to be a read aloud. And sometimes there's like a little, we did say brain breaks then because they were not from the impact, but little like movement breaks or other pieces in there. The way the 4 or 5 works is the segments are even shorter. They're either 4 or 6 minutes. And so in every 26-minute episode, there's lots of different things happening in there. So there's going to be some lesson content that's a foundational skill. Then there's supplemental lessons. So the impact that I showed you at the beginning, those exercise ones are embedded in a 26-minute episode, as well as some music movement with Miss Audra, who's very calming. Like you need to like get Zen. She's really great to watch, and she does these movement pieces. And these are really short. They're like 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes. And then the one that we're going to look at today for the episode, which was Tasty Michigan Treats, connected to where is Michigan in the world and Michigan's influence on the world and things that we have here, helping people visit, think about places around Michigan and what's unique to those places, and thinking about contributions Michigan in our world. We had 2 different pieces of writing that's in this episode. One is with Mr. Cass, who's from Ann Arbor Schools, amazing teacher, and he does a poem, Ode to Detroit style pizza. It's super fun. He's very engaging. And then the other one with Mr. Peterson, and that one in writing, he goes through a timeline and uses that to organize doing a narrative writing piece. And then at the end, there's a media literacy piece with Miss Kara. So each episode has a lot of other pieces in it than our K3 ones did, because those were kind of split like 12 minutes-ish and 12 minutes-ish, 13 with maybe 2 minutes to spare, depending on how we did. But what I'm asking you to do today is I want you to have a chance to check out the different episodes that we had. So the foundational skills content, we talked this morning and looked at the 4 or 5 essentials. We had a very specific training that was put together for the teachers, that I put together based on the different trainings that both Janisa and Melissa shared with you, and then also met with Dr. Tortorelli, and then I pulled together some other resources. So all the teachers who did this went through a training. And Mrs. Mora did some excellent pieces on morphology and how to do multisyllabic word, explicit instruction, multisyllabic word decoding. And so right now I'm going to ask you to pick probably one episode piece that you're going to look at. But if you pick, for instance, this one's going to be about 4 minutes, okay? These pieces are only about 2.5. And then if you pick these pieces here, they're going to be about 6 minutes each. And then this one's going to be short. So there's a couple short ones and a couple of long ones. The goal is that you pick one thing to watch right now. And then as you're watching it, now I would say you're going to be able to find some connections, I would think, to the supplemental lessons, right? But if we could really hone in on foundational skills lessons for this, or the writing lessons, and then if you have time, look at one of the other supplemental lessons. The media literacy lesson, I think you'll find quite connected. But really the foundational skills, the writing and media literacy, are going to be much more connected to our work with literacy essentials. And I'm going to ask you to think about, when we look at the K3 lesson plan guides that we have pulled out, those look like this. Let's just pick grade 2, marking period 2, for example. And these lesson plan guides, this is what the teachers did in grade 2, okay, for a lesson. And so it shows like what the content is, what they focused on, what the essential practices were that were there. And then there's I can statements, and that's put together for every single episode. So what I was going to ask you to do today, you can use these K-3 ones as a model. I've built out one small example for you, picking already the episode for you and picking the things you can use. You're just going to click on a foundational skills lesson or one of the writing lessons or media. Okay, we're going to, for now, just skip the supplemental. If you get time, go to that. And as you look through that, I want you to watch the segment on your own, and then you're going to look at the 4 or 5 essential instructional practices and see how you could connect, like which practices would you connect to the video that you're watching? What would you think are happening in there? And then if you have time, you're going to start to make I can statements. And my purpose in doing this is to help you see how you might utilize this content with teachers that you're working with, and how you could possibly support them to utilize these resources that are connected to the literacy essentials and taught by any of the big type lessons like in writing or foundational skills are all taught by a certified Michigan educator. We have the supplemental lessons, which might be a certified educator, but not like in literacy, right? So anything with foundational skills or writing is going to be someone that's certified in education in Michigan. So I'm hoping that this seems somewhat clear. I made a lesson plan guide for you to make a copy of. So when you open it up, you'll see, once you make your copy, hello, that you can click on the link. So if you want to watch Mrs. Mora, you'll click on this episode. It should take you, in my right world, it's going to take you right to the part of the episode where that part starts. Even though the episode is 26 minutes and 46 seconds long, they are linked to that exact moment in the episode that you want to watch. You're going to watch her episode. You're going to be having your 4 or 5 essentials next to you, and there's a link to those right in this document. If you don't have those handy and you want to have those, you can have those right up next to you, right? So you can be thinking about how they're connected. And you can be thinking also like, if I were going to be talking with a teacher, like what would we talk through about things that kids would be able to do after watching this lesson? So this is hopefully to build familiarity with what things that are out there, and also have you have a chance to view some of it and explore how you would utilize this to do some planning with an educator to use as a supplemental resource in their classroom, to send home with families to use, to have a substitute teacher use or a paraprofessional use to support kids in the classroom, or possibly even for tier one instruction as a model, or maybe some kids in small group instruction need it as a double dip. So lots of options. I'm hoping that the directions feel clear. I know our breakout rooms have been a little bit wonky, but what I'm going to do is put this link in the chat right now for you so that there's my chat, let's say.
And everything is also in the agenda. So if you have your agenda open,
Yes.
you should be able to click and follow the directions.
Yep, exactly. Thank you so much, Michelle. Okay, so we will open up the breakout rooms. Does anybody have any questions? And thank you, Kelly Cook, for that great compliment. And also, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about others involved in the project too. So if you have questions, you can stay in the room and ask me. And otherwise, the lesson plan guide's in the chat. And take a minute, put yourself on mute, and then you'll join people after you watch it to do some talking.
Do we want to do 15 minutes, Annie?
That would be great if we have time
Okay.
for 15 minutes. Yes. So they're going to need about 6 to 8 minutes to watch it on their own. And then depending on what they're watching. So you'll do 6 minutes-ish on your own to watch it and start to talk. And then you can start to talk after that. So I'll put a reminder. And I know this was a little bit fast and furious and it's at the end of the day, but hopefully we can you'll be able to think about how you might use this in your classroom, and it's like the first start of exploration, and we'll always have some time within the quarterly meetings to do this. And then I'd love to know also in the Slido if you can answer the Slido question of how you might use these MLC materials to support your local needs. And that should be showing up for you. I've not been really good about do I need to press play, Heather? Okay, start interaction, I guess. So the question is going to be this.
I've got it, yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the question we're thinking about. And I'll be available, if you need help. I'll be coming back to different sessions. We're talking about different ways that we're going to support the work this year with different, like maybe webinars and things like that. So there'll be other times for us to interact around this. There was a question about the most recent s'more. So what I tried to do today, share my screen really quickly as you're all kindly answering that question about how you might use these materials. And I will also acknowledge that there's just a lot of resources for the Michigan Learning Channel. There's a ton to explore. So I tried to be as focused as we could in this time that we have together, but there's a lot. So are you seeing my screen right now over here with the agenda? Okay. So right here, I have the different s'more newsletters in our time here. So I'll just highlight that in, let's say, green. And then each of the newsletters that I've done are in there so far. So that's where that link is to the September one, but I have to actually be working on October. So that will be coming next. The other thing is, if any of you are interested in being sort of stakeholders in any of this work, if you want to start to think about that, and let me know if you are interested in that. I'm just going to put my email at the bottom. And if you are interested in being part of this stakeholder feedback loop, please send me an email, and I would love to have you kind of help me look through some of the materials that I'm working on and get some feedback that will go into the field about how to use these things. And I'd just love some coach perspective. I know there's a lot and being in my, so I will just put that question at the bottom and my email, and you can write to me and we'll figure that out. And otherwise, if you also need anything in terms of, you're trying to plan something and you like to see how to use it, I'm also trying to figure out how much to offer and how much wouldn't be helpful to offer to the network too. So the more I find out what you're looking for, the better I hopefully will be able to serve you all in this work.